Good morning, student. This is the third part of the chapter Federalism, class 10th, subject Social Science. Student, in the first two part of this chapter, Federalism, we have discussed few points. Let me remind you one by one. We started with the chapter where there was the map showing you that most of the big countries of the world used to adopt federal system, but we also discussed that it is not necessary that only big countries are going to have federal system. Even countries like Belgium, which is very small in size, has got the federal system. So there is no hard and fast rule that federal system can be adopted only in the big countries. Further we made a discussion by further we made discussion about uh, making a comparison between the unitary form of the government and federal form of the government, so that we can understand the federal form of government in a better manner. That's why we made a comparison over there, that how unitary government is different from the federal government. Then we discussed the 7 key features of the federal form of government, and in the last part of this section last part of this section, we discussed that federal form of government can be of two types, that is coming together federation and holding together federation. I told you there that coming together federations are where independent states comes on their own to form a federal setup. Best example is United States of America. But on the other side, we have holding together federation. Example is India, in which a large country decide to divide its power between the constituent states and the national government. So student, in this video content, we will move ahead. We will limit our discussion now onwards. In the remaining part of the chapter, we will limit our discussion with the federal system, what exists in India. And our next heading is, that is, what makes India a federal country. Student, just imagine when Belgium and Sri Lanka uh, can have so many problems, which are so small countries, just because of their diverse ethnic composition. Both these countries had to face lot of problem. What could be the problem for vast country like India, where there exist many languages, many religions, and various reasons with the diverse cultural, social, political, cultural identity. So, nothing could be better than adopting a federal system. So, in this part, what makes India a federal country, we will try to explore that how federal system works in our country, and what are the provision associated which makes India a federal country. So first thing is, everybody is aware that in 1947, when country got independence, our independence was not only a matter of happiness for the people. Along with this happiness, because country got divided uh, into the two part, it was painful. There was lot of violence, lot of conflict between the people of the country. So before the independence, when these people were fighting to get the freedom from the British colonial master, after the sense of that they are likely to get independence, they got involved in the process of violence, and that's how country got broken into two parts. On the other side, there were number of independent princely states which were not clear whether they want to remain as the part of India, or whether they are wanting to be you can say that whether they are wanting to be a separate country. But somehow these issues were resolved, and constitution was made, in which the provision was made that Constitution of India declared India as a union of state. This itself gives an idea that in our country the more power has been given to our central government, which is called union government. Although it did not use the word federation. Also make it clear, nowhere it is written in the constitution that India is a federation. The Indian Union is based on the principle of federalism. That is what we will try to explore in this part. Moving to next point is that the constitutional originally provided for two-tier system of the government. When constitution was made in the 1950s, there was provision for only two tier of government, the one government, that is central government or the union government representing the Union of India, and the other is the provincial government or the state government. In India we will not use the word provincial, we will use the word state government. Later what happened, some amendments were made. I will let you know in the coming part of this chapter that when this happened, the third tier of the federalism was added in the form of Panchayati Raj and municipalities. That's how we will understand that how we have made the system more federal in nature, how we have made the system more democratic in nature by ensuring that the democratic ideas and democratic rights are ensured to the people at very grassroots level. That's the very essence of the Panchayati Raj system. You have studied in class 6 also about Panchayati Raj system. Then student, these different tiers were given different power. It was required on the part of the constitution that there has to be a clear difference for the subjects, that on which subject which government can make the law. The constitution clearly provided a threefold distribution of legislative power between the union and the state government. These are union list, state list and concurrent list. So the first list is union list. Union list includes subject of national importance. Make the point very clear, only those subjects which are of the national importance. For example, defense, foreign affairs, banking, communication, currency. These are the issues what are related to all the part of the country. That's why these issues and many issues like this are given to the central government or union government. Only the union government can make laws relating to the subject mentioned in the union list. Then comes the another list called state list, which contains subject of state and local importance such as trade, commerce, agriculture and irrigation, police, etc. Various other issues are also there, but these are few mentioned in your textbook. On these issues, state government can make laws relating to the subject mentioned in the state list. Then comes the third list, that is concurrent list. Student, interesting fact is that there are certain subjects which are of the importance of national as well as of the state. It means it is of the national importance and of the state importance. That's why both the union as well as the state government can make laws on such subjects in the list. But there is a condition. Suppose if the laws are made by the union government and the state governments remain contradictory in nature, if there are some conflict in the laws, then the law made by the union government will be prevailing or accepted. This will be accepted. The law made by the state government will not be accepted. It means you can say that again our central government has been given a supremacy over the concurrent list. In this particular concurrent list, we used to get matter like marriage, adoption, trade union, forest. So various issues other than this are also included in this list. Apart from three lists, union list, state list and concurrent list, there is a provision of residuary subject. Let me tell you student what residuary subject is all about. When the constitution was made, our framer of the Indian constitution thought that in the coming years, in the future, there might be some new areas on which legislation will be required. Best example is the computer. You can say that at that time there was no provision of computer software, there was no provision required related to the internet, cyber world, cyber laws. Such things were not required at that time, but they thought that in the coming years such areas may emerge. So a residuary subject was also added in the Indian Constitution. It is the subject that do not fall in any of the three lists, neither in the union list nor in the state list and also not in the concurrent list. About these residuary subject, union government, only and only union government has the power to legislate on these matters. So you must understand that our framer has the vision for the future also. They made things very flexible in nature, that if some new areas which are which were not included in 1950s of the Indian Constitution could be added in the residuary subject list. Many more areas ever since has come up, and that has been added in this list. After that, you will find that we have already discussed that India has a holding together type of federation, in which we will find that all states, such kind of federation, holding together federation, do not give equal power to its constituent unit. That's a general characteristics of the holding together federation. I'm repeating my word. Holding together federation, you will find that it do not give equal power to its all the constituent unit. And as India has the holding together type of federation, federal system, all states in the Indian Union do not have identical powers. Some states enjoy a special status. States such as Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram enjoy special powers under certain provisions of the Constitution of India. One of the very famous provision is Article 370, due to their peculiar social and historical circumstances. That's very important point. These are being made for a purpose. What was those purpose? These special powers are especially enjoyed in relation to protection of land right to indigenous people. Yes, people living in this territory like Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, etc., their land right could have been saved by making such provision, because these people are not very prosperous. So people from other states, rich people from other states could come over here and can acquire the land. To avoid the situation, it is mentioned that only original habitat of these people of this particular territory can have the authority over the land. Their culture and also preferential employment were given in this area. Indians who are not permanent resident of this state, state of Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh and Mizoram, they cannot buy land or house here. I told you what is the logic. Logic is that this is not a very prosperous area. People mostly are tribal in nature. They have their only resource are the piece of land where they actually live and survive through these piece of resource. So if people, the prosperous people from other part of the country will be coming and purchasing the land, the rights of these people may be overlooked. To avoid this, the provisions are also made. Similarly, in the other areas, you will find that there are areas like Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, capital city of Delhi. These are called union territories. These are called union territories. It means these territories do not have the power of the states. They do not have as much power that there could be a state list provision for them. The central government has special powers in running these areas. Through their representatives, central government take various decisions about these areas. The sharing of power between union government and state government is basic to the structure. The sharing of the power between union and state government is basic to the structure of the constitution. That is why we call it federal. This is another interesting fact that as I said, that sharing of power between the union government and the state government is basic to the structure of our constitution. Reason, any change to it has to be first by both the houses of parliament with at least 2/3 majority. Mind it, student, that if any law has to be changed which is related to the federal structure of the constitution, our union government cannot do all of its own. It is required, number one, 2/3 majority of both the House, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha of the parliament, and then it has to be ratified by the legislature of at least half of the total state. It means the total number of states, if suppose it is 30 at the time, so you can say that minimum 15 states should be saying yes, then only the required amendment in the constitution can be done, which is related to the federal structure of the constitution. Further, to enhance our federal system in India, the judiciary has been given a very important role, because judiciary through the Supreme Court and High Court can deal any dispute. Various issues emerge between the working of the government, especially between the union government and state government, and whenever such issue arises, the government, either the central government or the state government, can go and can uh, get the justice done through the judiciary. The last portion of this particular segment is that our union and state government has been also authorized by the constitution that they have the power to raise resources by levying taxes. Yes, both these government work upon us, both these government do the welfare for us, so they required money, and for generating money, monetary resources, both the government, union and state government, have the power to raise resources by levying tax. In the early part of this chapter, I told you that we all used to pay variety of taxes to these government. Like some of the taxes we pay to the union government, some of the taxes we pay to the state government, and some of the taxes we pay to the central government. Student, in the coming section, we will discuss that how is federalism practiced in India. Thank you.